Welcome to the Cash Flow Couple Podcast, where we go behind the scenes in our short-term rental business and reveal tips, tricks, secrets, successes, and failures. Whether you have 0 units or 100 units, this podcast is for you. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Wynde Williams, along with my husband, John Williams. Together, we operate Queen City Suites, a short-term rental business here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're back with another exciting episode of the Cash Flow Couple. Welcome back.
It does sound like Superman.
It does a little bit.
We were talking about that earlier. It's like another exciting episode of whatever, right?
The Cash Flow Couple.
The Cash Flow Couple. Which I think is really cool, actually.
I like it.
I like it. I love doing this.
So we've been very busy.
We have been busy. And
we really have.
Missed I think we've missed 2 podcast episodes because we should do one every week. We've been super busy.
We have been busy because it has taken us a little over a month because we have been, it started out as...
Yes, it started at the beginning. So
we said, hey, let's put out this free PDF of 100 tips for your short-term rental, right? And then it became, we should really explain this one tip just a little bit.
Just this one. Right.
Just this one. And then 200 pages later.
Yeah. So and plus it became I don't think we have 100, so it became 88.
Right, we had to combine some a little bit.
Right. So we ended up with this thing that started out as a two-page PDF, and we're like, we should explain this, and they're like, let's just explain this a little more, and we had 205 pages of tips on short-term rentals, which is fine, but we decided, hey, let's just make this a book.
Well, it ended up being a book because
it was a book because it was 205, 6 pages.
Right.
I don't know the exact count, but it was a lot.
Right. So that's what we've been working on.
Yes.
We had originally planned to put out a 2-page PDF, and it only took us, I don't know, a couple of hours to maybe a day to come up with those 100 little 1-sentence tips, and then it took us a month to
it's taken quite a bit to fill out the rest of it, because once you start writing it, I mean, you know this, it's really hard to...
It's hard.
It is.
Isn't it?
Because you have to write it out so that anybody can understand it.
Yes, but that's what I like about it. I like that whether you are just thinking about getting into the short-term rental business, or if you have quite a few units under your belt, anyone can pick up this book and get something valuable, because there's a lot of value in this book.
Yeah, there's something in there for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I love about, and that's really what I wanted it to become, and I think we've done that.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that it's and we went back through it
several
times.
Right. Yes. And
we gave it to some friends to read.
Some people who are in the short-term rental business.
And some that aren't.
So we got some great feedback. And
that made us go back through and reword some things, and it also made us go back through and organize it. Because it was kind of jumbled. It was just random stuff, but we organized it.
Thought about that.
So I'm really proud of it now.
I am too. I am really proud of us. Pat on the back.
Yes, but it is. I will say, when you go to publish a book, when you we should just make this a book, that sounds really easy. But then you got to format it. And then you gotta, you have to have it in a certain format so that it's acceptable to be published and all this other kind of thing.
Poor John. That's what you've been working on.
Yes, because technical stuff falls back on me, right?
That's all you do. That's all you.
I end up being like technical support for the cash flow couple.
That's right.
It's like, oh, well, now you got to figure out how to publish a book.
Anytime I have a problem, like, John.
Yes. And
Help.
sometimes it's really funny to me. Sometimes it's just like I show up and it starts working. And I didn't do anything.
It is so frustrating.
I didn't do
for that to
anything.
happen.
It just started working because
that
I
happened
appeared.
the other day, and I was working on something on the computer, and it was not working for me. And all of a sudden, you just come into the room, and it automatically starts working.
That happened to CJ the other night too. He asked me, so his microphone wasn't working on one of his games or whatever he does. Whatever he does. Like, we don't know what he does. I honestly don't know a lot of stuff he does, but whatever. But anyway, so I went up there and it wasn't working, and I just like sat down, started working, didn't do a thing.
Yeah, it's
Didn't do a
amazing.
thing. It just started working.
It's amazing. You must have some kind of like energy that
Maybe the
Makes
electronics
technology
are like,
work.
John is here.
yes,
And
right.
now we're in our happy place.
We're in our happy place. Well, thank goodness that you're on my team because
So people that do tech support will understand how that works. It just does. I don't know why. Sometimes sometimes you do need to, bring your specialized knowledge and make it work. And sometimes it's just your presence. I don't understand it.
I don't either. And it's very frustrating.
But I'm very happy when that happens because that means I don't have to actually do anything. But anyway, that wasn't the purpose of this podcast.
What were we just talking about? Oh, the book.
Yes.
The
so
book.
we were talking about the book, and I think that's going to be released here very soon.
Yes. So we are.
And we keep saying that. Like,
I think we've said that.
we said that like 3 weeks ago. And then we get feedback. We're like, all right, we should change that and make it better. But we're refining it. We're making it better and better and better.
Yes.
And at some point, you just have to release it.
That's right. And
Because you'll never be perfect.
And that's what's going to happen on Monday. On Monday is I draw the line on Monday.
Woody's drawing the line in the sand. It will be.
I'm drawing the line, and this is it. Monday revision is
864
Right.
is good enough.
Right. That's done. It's done. And it's really, really good.
I think it really is.
It's been our baby for so long, and you want it to be perfect,
You
right?
do, yeah. But
and it's not going to be.
nothing is ever perfect.
Nothing is ever perfect.
But I think there's a
ton of value.
Yeah, I almost said a bad word. So this is family friendly, but there's a ton of value in this book. I think
really is. Every single one of these secrets that we talk about in the book are,
and they're not really secrets.
No,
we called it that.
They're like
because
tips and
that sounds kind of cool and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're
Well, I liked the alliteration of it.
There is alliteration. Secrets to success. Yes.
And short term. That's why we titled it that way, because I like alliteration.
Yes. But it is a ton of value. There's like really stuff in there. So there's really stuff in there that you can actually use. So we made the book in a way that you can turn to any page. You don't have to read it front to back. It's not a chapter book.
Right. It's not a chapter book. And that's the other thing that I like about it.
So you can turn to any page and immediately get something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I
that
think
you
that's
can
kind of cool.
Implement in your business right now.
Yeah. So on that vein, so we decided, hey, we can't do a podcast on like all 88 of them.
Right. It would take
or whatever
years.
it ends up being, right? It could be 89. It may be 87. I really like 88 just because it's 88.
Really? You like 88?
I wish it would have been 100. It's because we started out, we were like, we should do 100. But you don't want to just put another 12 in there to fill it out so you can say it's 100.
Right.
So we stopped at 88 because that was 88's a good number because it's 2 8s, right? And also we didn't want to fill it with a bunch of fluff. So this book isn't a bunch of stuff that it's just us talking to try to fill pages. It's actual stuff that you can like go in there. If you're a busy person, you can turn to any page and you can read that. We kind of use tips and secrets interchangeably, but you can read that section and it could be of value to you. just all by itself, which I think is really cool.
I really like that.
A lot of books aren't written that way.
Right. Yeah, this is different. It's written differently. It's not meant to be read the whole way through.
Although you could,
sure.
You could just sit down and read it.
Sure.
But that's one of the frustrations I've had in a lot of the books I've read or trainings I've been through. It's like you have to read the whole thing to mine that little nugget. And so we tried to put little nuggets where you could just go get them directly.
And they're
without all the extra stuff.
Because I'm an organized person, I like that it's organized.
Right. Well, that was one of the feedback we got. Because originally we just wrote it as, like you said, it started as a PDF. It was just like, what are we going to put next? What are we going to put next? What are we going to put next? And that made it very unorganized.
It really was.
And then the book became that way. But then one of the feedback we got from one of the people that we put it out to was, hey, it would be really nice if these sections were organized so that we could say, okay, if we're talking about setting up your unit, for example, let's put all the tips that involve that in one section.
Yes.
Or cleaners. Let's put all the tips that involve cleaners in one section. And so we took that feedback and we went back and reorganized it. So that's part of what's taken us like months to get through it.
Yes.
Because we've taken that feedback and tried to make it better. So.
I like that about it. And it even has a table of contents.
A book should have a table of contents, shouldn't it?
So great. I'm so proud of this book. And
but yeah, you're like, hey, it's like a real book. Yeah, I get it.
It's like a real book. Yeah. I mean, it's just great. We are just so thrilled about providing value to the marketplace that I'm just beyond excited about it.
Yeah, I am too.
So
in this podcast, we decided to give 3 of those.
Right. So we're going
because we want to keep this kind of like not a 5-hour podcast, right?
Preferably, right. I don't even think that we would have like 5 hours. We may have 30 minutes.
Yes, there's that too. So this is the Williams household. We've made a deal with Emma,
right,
that she doesn't bother us for the next 30 minutes, so we can get this out.
Right. We said she could have a Mountain Dew and watch TV.
Yes.
So we'll see if she actually keeps her promise.
Yes.
So the 3.
So we're going to talk about house rules.
The house rules.
How important it is to have a robust set of house rules.
Right.
That's one of our tips.
And then
the second one is how do you enforce them, basically?
Enforcing
them.
You
have to monitor them. You have to enforce them. Yes. It's great to have house rules, but if you don't enforce them, what good are they?
Right.
And then the third part is going to be how do you basically, like, if things go wrong,
right, what happens?
Yeah, like
what
how do
you do?
How do you deal with that?
Right.
Like somebody violated the house rules, had a rager at your place, you had to go do whatever you had to do, but the neighbors are pissed.
Right.
Or it could not be related to that. Like maybe like something went wrong in your unit, like the AC went out. How do you deal with that?
Right.
So that third tip is kind of like dual purpose, but let's start with number 1. So number 1 is have a robust set of house rules.
Have a robust set of house rules. Yes. And you would think that this would be,
it seems obvious,
but there are a lot of operators. Well, that don't.
Us,
when we first started, we didn't.
Yeah,
we did. We had maybe 3 house rules.
Yeah,
maybe.
So just to provide some background, so when you are listing on, and we talk about this a lot. We're not an Airbnb business. We're not a HomeAway business. We're not a Booking.com business, right? But on those platforms, and even if you're going to take direct bookings, you need to set expectations. So what are the rules for the use of your property? And those platforms, and it's easy to talk about Airbnb because most people are familiar with that platform. On that platform, as a host, it gives you the opportunity to opt in or out. In other words, say yes or no to a fixed set of rules.
So it already has some rules on there for you.
Yes, it has them built in. And there's things like, is this suitable for children? Yes
or no.
Is this suitable for
pets?
Can you accept pets?
Yes or no.
Yes or no.
Right.
Are parties or events allowed?
Right.
Yes or no.
Yes or no.
Is smoking allowed?
Right.
Yes or no. And these are things that you can just check a box, yes or no. But what's interesting about that and where this kind of goes is below that, they have a text box that says, do you have any additional rules?
Why, yes. Yes, we do.
Well, no, we didn't at the beginning.
Well, not at the beginning, but now we do.
Because when you first start out, you just kind of check those. And then if you have additional rules, you're like, I don't know, man.
Right.
Maybe I'll fill that in later.
Well,
and that's kind of what we did.
Right. Sure. Until that party.
Yeah. So we've told this story before.
The party in the basement.
Yeah. But we're going to tell this in context of why it's important to have house rules and how we started to develop those. So you want to tell that story again?
Oh boy. Well, we've already told this story. Well, the guest messaged us and asked if age was an issue.
Yes.
And it kind of sent up a red flag.
And this is very early on.
It was very early on. We had just started,
and we weren't professionals yet. It was just, hey, let's rent out the basement on Airbnb.
Yes.
That was literally our terminology.
We just had the basement. We didn't have any other units. That was the only one we had. And we had just started doing it. It was like a couple of months into it. And a guest messaged us and said, is age an issue? And that should throw up a red flag. And it kind of did. But
at that time, you were doing most of the messaging.
I was, yes.
Because this whole Airbnb thing was your idea.
It was. John's like, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
I was like kind of against it, actually.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. So,
but anyway, you were messaging
came over to the dark side.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's kind of an odd question. Why would somebody be asking me that? And so I said, well,
but you were nice.
As long as you follow the house rules, which we did the ones that Airbnb had on there,
right.
No parties. We were only
listed on Airbnb at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So we said no parties, no smoking.
Well, you
no
didn't
pets.
say that. You didn't say that. I'm saying you said, yeah, we had those boxes checked.
Right. But what I messaged back the guest was, no, age is not an issue as long as you follow the house rules.
Right.
That's what I said back to the guest. Well, little did we know.
I know, but for me now as more experienced, John, thinks they didn't read that crap.
No.
Nobody reads that.
Nobody reads it.
Right.
I don't think, still to this day, people don't read that.
Right.
But so we were like, okay, sure. Yeah, come on, follow the house rules. And they booked it and they came and it was for what? 4 people, I think. I believe so. So they came, and we had that night when they checked in, we had gone to the movies. We had taken the kids to the movies, so we weren't even here.
It was a Saturday night.
It was a Saturday night.
It was a Saturday check-in, and I think was it for one night?
I think so.
Yeah, it was just one night on a Saturday,
right?
Which we don't do
which
now
we don't
either,
do anymore.
But
so
we didn't know.
So we go to the movies, and when we come back, there's all these cars because we live in a cul-de-sac. There's all these cars parked all around in the cul-de-sac, in front of our house, in front of the neighbor's house. And we were like, man, who's having a party? And so we come inside and we hear the music, the loud, and it was really loud.
It was, yeah.
And we were like, holy crap. We're the ones having the party.
Right. And it's not even us. It's our
my
guests,
God.
right?
Oh my God. So we message the guest. I message the guest and I say, please remember that this is a family neighborhood or something like that. And
which is probably totally not how we would handle it now.
no, well,
not in the basement unit anyway.
not in the basement. Well, so, please turn down the music. We have children. Please be respectful. And they didn't do it.
No, they didn't.
They did not. And I waited for like an hour for them to turn down the music. They didn't respond to my message. And so I marched my ass down there and knocked on the door.
Yeah, we have different stories about this because you did things that I did things. So
that's true. So that was the next thing that happened, right? It was I
to you, yeah.
Walked down there and I knocked on the door and I said, "Hey, we have kids. You need to turn down the music." And they said, "Okay, yes." And they were respectful to my face.
Yeah, but meanwhile, I was out in the street.
That's right.
As people showed up, because people kept showing up.
That's right. Oh my God, that's right.
And I felt like old man.
Right.
Like, get off my lawn. Like, people
Right.
showed up, and I'm like, you're not staying.
Right. And
You're
actually, that was the first time that we had ever met the guest, and he was like 18 years old. And there was some girl, and there were all these people down there, and it was
They had booked it for 4. There were supposed to be 4
right,
people. There was at least 25
Oh,
people
at
down
least. And poor John.
and more people showing up.
And poor John standing out in the
And I'm out in the
cul-de-sac,
cul-de-sac,
turning
like,
people away like,
y'all got to go.
y'all got to go. And I'm down in the basement telling them, y'all need to turn the music down. And they said, okay, we'll turn it down. Well, that still didn't happen. They still didn't turn the music down.
No, they didn't.
How many times did I go down there? At least 3 times.
And Wynde was mad.
Oh, I was pissed.
Oh, you get mad. Wynde
so
mad.
mad.
It's like I didn't
so
want to be on
mad.
the receiving end of that.
I was so mad. But I didn't know. I didn't know the rules for me as a host. I mean, could I kick them out? I didn't know.
Right. And so it was some of it was just inexperience because it never happened before.
Right.
We'd hosted a lot of people before that.
Yeah, and everybody had just been wonderful.
Right. They were like families with children
exactly.
coming to town, and all of a sudden we had these
first time we'd ever had a problem, like any kind of
people
problem.
having a party in our basement.
Holy crap. Who does that? 18-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've had other younger people down there, and they have been very respectful.
Yes,
of
but
the
we've
space.
been more.
That's true.
Since that time,
That's true.
We now have rules.
That's true.
Which is where we were going with that.
Right. Yeah. So before the party, we just had
we just had those check boxes.
The check boxes,
and
right?
The one thing they were probably violating was, are parties or events allowed? But even having that box checked, their thing was, oh, we're not having a party. People are just stopping by. These are just people that are stopping by to visit because we're from out of town and we know them. And they're just stopping by.
Right. So that's another one of the house rules that we figured out that we had to put in there was, what's the difference between a person who is staying on the reservation, like a guest, versus a visitor?
Yeah. And so after that, we kind of had to come up with better rules.
Yes.
Because we realized that even if you have that rule and it's obvious to you that they're having a party, when you call a platform, and this happened to be an Airbnb booking,
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't think we actually ended up making the call that time.
I don't think we did either.
But if you call them, they are, and we talk about this a lot, stay on Airbnb to begin with because they will help mediate.
And this is a nugget, what he just said.
They will help mediate. They will call the guest. They will mediate between you and the guest. But at the same time, they're not just on your side as a host. They're on the guest side as well. And so their job is to be kind of a neutral arbitrator. And so if the guest says, oh, we're just having people by, you've got to have some kind of concrete thing saying this wasn't allowed on my property. And while it may be really obvious to you that they're having a party, it may not be really obvious to a third party that's just hearing this on the phone from two different people. One person says, oh, we're just having visitors by. They're overreacting.
Right.
And the other party is saying, not to be in a, not party like, but party as in the other party. The other person is saying, as the host, they're saying, no, these people are doing something bad. And they're going to say, well, what rule are they violating?
Right.
And so since we didn't have very defined rules, it was hard to make that case. Even though we didn't at that time, I don't think we did. I don't think we made that call. But had we made that call, it would have been very hard to get rid of them.
Right, sure.
Because we didn't have a really defined rule that they were violating.
Right.
And so since then, we've added other rules to our house, rules.
Right, like at what point does a visitor become a guest?
Yes, so we added things like maximum occupancy.
Maximum occupancy, yes, that's a very good one.
So if we have a place that will sleep 6, then in our house rules we say there should never be more than 6 people there.
Right.
So even if only 3 people book it, then they can't have more than 3 visitors because that's a maximum of 6. 3 plus 3 is 6, right?
Exactly.
And that prevents them from having, quote, people over or people visiting.
Right.
Like 15 or 20 visiting.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because now they've clearly violated a house rule by having more than 6, period. And then another thing we added was, hey, you can't have visitors past a certain time at night.
Right.
Now we picked 10 p.m.
Right.
Because that's when we begin our quiet hours, which is another rule. We say quiet hours are between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
Right.
So you shouldn't be loud or boisterous or whatever between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. And anybody that's, quote, visiting and not staying overnight shouldn't be past 10 p.m. Right.
And if they are, they're considered a guest and you have to pay the extra guest fee.
Yeah. Well, that's another rule that you just brought up.
I did.
So anybody that's not disclosed in the booking. So if you book for 3 people and 5 people show up, we've added a rule that says anybody over, we call them undisclosed guests.
Undisclosed
but
guests.
Anybody that you didn't disclose on the reservation that actually comes, there's a penalty fee for that.
Right.
And so
it's a hefty one too.
And it's hefty. So we charge $50 per night per undisclosed guest because people will do that.
That's right.
They will book for 3 people and suddenly like 8 people show up.
Exactly.
And so you need a clear defined rule so that when you make that call to like an Airbnb or when you make that determination, or even if you're just communicating with a guest, then you have a clear rule to say, you've violated this. You've crossed this line.
Yep. You cross this line, you die.
You cross this line, you die, right?
Yes.
But that gives us a way to say, this is now black and white. This is the rule. This is the thing you have violated. So I think that's really important to have those in place, and it sets expectations so that when people see that before they book, they know what they're or at least they should know what the expectations are.
Well, they've agreed to it once they
have
book.
But as we just said, a lot of people don't read.
Right. But you
need to know that, for example, on a platform like Airbnb, I know that they see those rules at least 3 times, maybe 4. I can't remember the exact number.
Right.
But they see it when they book. They see it when they see the listing.
Yes.
They see it when they, check in.
Right.
And then we've even actually added it so that when we give people their check-in instructions, we say, oh, by the way, we want to remind you of the house rules.
Right.
So there's no excuse to say, I didn't know that. Right?
Because we've had that happen too.
We have had that happen. But at least you've defined it. You said, here are the parameters that are required for you to stay here. And if you are violating one of those, now we can point to that and say, here's the rule you're violating. And some of those mesh, like the you can't have people after 10 p.m. and the undisclosed guest thing, because you will have this scenario. You will have somebody that comes and, for example, they book 3 people. 5 people showed up, but 2 of them left at 3 a.m. And they will say, well, they didn't stay overnight.
Right.
You can't charge me the $50 fee.
Right. But now we can.
Because they didn't stay overnight.
Right.
Because they left at 3 a.m.
Right. But now we can, because we specifically state in the house rules that any person, any undisclosed guest after 10 p.m. is considered staying overnight and gets charged the $50 fee.
So and 10 p.m. may not be the rule for your place. You need to figure that out for yourself, but you do need to have a time. At what time are people considered overnight? Is it 10 p.m.? Is it 11 p.m.? Is it 12 midnight? Is it 1 a.m.? Is it 2 a.m.? Is it 3 a.m.? Is it 4 a.m.? So you got to figure that out, but you do need to define it. And you do need to put it in your house rules so that it's something that you can point to and that everybody has agreed to.
Yeah. That's really good advice. I really like that.
Yeah. So let's move on from that. So that's tip number 1.
That's tip number 1.
Have a robust set of house rules and think through that.
And tip number 2 is enforce them.
Yeah. So it's great to have those, but if you have no way to monitor whether they're being followed or not.
Right. So how would you know?
How would you even know?
If 3 people are on the reservation and 5 people showed up, how would you know that?
How would you even know? And it was easy for us in the basement. Like when we had that first unit.
Yeah.
Because we live here.
Yeah. Of
course we know who's showing up and who's not. Like even that party, they had the party, but at least we were here. We knew about it. If it was a property that we had somewhere else that we just rented out the whole house and it was, 30 minutes away and we didn't have a way to monitor it because we didn't live there, we would have never known about it.
Yep.
It would have just happened.
Right. Maybe the neighbors would have.
Maybe you would have gotten a call from the neighbors, or maybe you would have found out from your cleaners the next day that they trashed the place. Right. So it's great to have those house rules, but you need to monitor them.
Yes.
And then enforce them.
Or else they won't do any good.
Yeah. So you have to monitor them so you can enforce them.
So the monitoring is where the security system comes in.
Yeah. So we have external security cameras, and we also employ we have backups to backups. So we have that. So we can see, we have a doorbell camera. We have, on our properties that have a driveway, we have another external camera that shows the driveway. And on our properties that have multiple entrances, like say a back door, we also put a camera there. So we can monitor who's coming in and out. So we'll know if you book 3 people and 8 people show up, it's very easy for us to pull up that footage and say who actually checked in.
Right. And we do that. We
do that as part of our process.
Part of our process, we monitor check-ins.
Yeah. So part of our system is when people check in, we monitor that to say not only, were they, it wasn't the right number of people, but was the person that booked the reservation actually the person that showed up? Because we'd have that problem before too.
We sure have.
Or somebody booked it and then
somebody totally
different showed up. And that's a security risk.
Yes.
And it's a red flag. So you need to have a way to monitor it. And the way we do that primarily is by having those external cameras. A secondary system we use is a product called Noise Aware. And what it does is it's actually inside the property, and it doesn't record what people say or, specifically
sound and voice.
Anything like that.
Right.
But what it does record is how loud it is.
Right. Like decibel levels.
Yes. So it's recording decibel levels. So if it gets across a certain threshold, in other words, if it gets too loud in there on a threshold that we've set.
Yeah, you set the threshold.
Yeah.
Like
so
you decided how
say,
loud you want it to be.
Yes. So if the sound level gets above a certain level, we get a notification saying, hey, it's really loud there, or it's at least above your threshold. And that gives you the opportunity to say, okay, maybe I need to go check the cameras.
Right.
And see, did these people bring 30 people in there and they're having a party? So that's a secondary level of backup system we have. And then a third one that I use is we have Wi-Fi at each place. So I have the ability to, even if those two systems go down, I have the ability to log into the router at that place and see how many devices are connected to the Wi-Fi.
Ooh, that is sneaky.
Yes. So I know that, for example, if 6 people check in, it's conceivable that each one of them have a phone or a tablet or something, right? So there should be 6 connections to the Wi-Fi. If I see 30 connections to the Wi-Fi, then I might need to send my runner by to go check on the place.
Yep.
Or maybe we need to go drive by and see what's going on. Because something's going on there that there's 30 devices connected to the Wi-Fi. So between those 3 systems, it gives us a way to monitor and then enforce the house rules that we've put in place.
That is super sneaky. Nice. So the last tip is, you've got these house rules and
you're monitoring,
but still something went down.
Sometimes something still happens.
Sometimes there's a crazy lady that follows.
Now you're telling a specific story, but go ahead.
Sometimes a crazy lady will follow one of your guests home from the bar and bang on the neighbor's door at 3 a.m. thinking that it's your unit.
Yes. So that people are going to be like, what the hell is she
This actually happened.
That happened. Yeah.
This actually happened at one of our newest places.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that happened. So, but we did not see it because it happened at we didn't see it because it happened at
3 a.m.
Yeah, 3 in the morning.
I'm not awake at 3 a.m.
Well, we did get awakened by it.
That's true because
she rang the doorbell.
I have the doorbell thing set up on my phone, right?
Yeah, so somebody rings the doorbell, you get a notification.
I get a notification, and it actually sounds like a doorbell ringing, so it woke me up.
It did, but it was already in progress at that point.
Right.
It was happening.
Right.
Drunk crazy lady was knocking on people's doors no matter what we did,
oh
right?
My God. All I could do was watch in horror as this happened.
Yes. And we ended up getting rid of that guest as a result of it, but it had happened.
It's already
happened. There was nothing we could do about it. It had happened.
Oh my gosh.
Even though we knew about it.
What a disaster.
And all that kind of thing.
So
third tip is...
Tip number 3 is to buy gift cards.
Yes, keep a stack of them.
Maybe Starbucks or some sort of rideshare credits.
Starbucks is a really good one.
Starbucks is really good. So just keep a whole stack of them.
Yes.
Keep them in your car or something, but you're going to need them.
Eventually.
Eventually going to need them, and you're going to hand them out to people like neighbors.
Yeah.
For example.
So you might be going to the neighbor house the next day saying, hey, we saw what happened.
Right.
Sorry that happened.
Sorry.
I know this doesn't make up for it, but here's a $25 Starbucks gift card.
Yes.
To let you know that, I know it doesn't make amends, but at least we're thinking about you.
Yes.
And we appreciate the community, and,
Right.
it's not our thing. And the other thing we use those for is sometimes we use them for guests as well.
That's true, because sometimes maybe like when the air conditioner went out
Yeah.
at one of the places.
Yeah. So sometimes things will happen at your unit.
Yes.
And in fact, we used that recently where the guy wasn't able to get in.
That's right.
Remember that?
I do, yeah.
So it fell through the system that the door code didn't get changed.
Right.
Which means when I say fell through the system, John forgot to do it.
That's right.
Because I'm currently responsible for making that change. Even though I have everything automated, like it tells me when to do it, I get this reminder and everything. But I didn't do it that day. And the guy couldn't get in. He sat out there for like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, it
right?
was bad. I felt really bad
And
about
so,
it.
but we had
Yes.
the gift cards. So we
Yes.
showed up the next day and we
Yes.
said, sorry. Well, actually, I say we.
Yeah.
I drove Wynde over there.
I'm the one that
And
actually
Wynde
knocked
did
on the
it.
door and wrote the little "I'm so sorry" letter and put the little gift card inside and talked to him, and he was super nice.
Yeah.
And he actually just booked another
That's
one of our
right.
units.
So we took care of him, and he
So,
just booked another
yep.
23 nights.
That's exactly right. Yep.
which
and-
totally pays for that place.
Totally.
And with profit.
Yep.
So it was totally worth the $25
Oh
gift
yeah,
card.
totally right.
For sure. But
For sure.
but that's a great way to smooth things over.
Yes.
When
Yes.
even though you got the house rules,
Yes.
even though you monitored it,
Yep.
and then something else happened.
Yep. For sure.
And in his case, it wasn't that. It was something else. But we do give those out to neighbors or whoever else that we need to make amends with.
Smooth things over
Yeah,
with.
smooth things over, make amends
Yes.
with. So
Yes.
that's the third tip. I think that's a really good one.
Yep. Yep. So it sounds like somebody's sleepy.
So
Look.
Emma's sleepy. She's ready to go to bed.
Somebody's sleepy. So,
So we should probably end this.
well, you want to say hi? Say hello.
Why?
Okay, that's enough.
That's
That's
not
enough of
hello.
that. So we hope that you have found value in the podcast. If you have, you can find us on Facebook at The Cashflow Couple. And we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, please go like us.
Go like and
subscribe
subscribe
to it.
to the YouTube channel.
That will help us if you will
The
go subscribe
Cashflow
to
Couple.
it. Yeah.
Yes, and that would help us out a whole lot. Yes.
So it's the Cashflow Couple on YouTube.
On YouTube. Yes. So,
We started putting a lot more content there beyond just the podcast.
yep. And more is coming.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is. So go subscribe. That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. We're about to add a buttload of content down
Yes.
there. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us on another exciting episode of the
Thanks for
Cashflow
listening
Couple.
to another exciting episode of the Cashflow Couple. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, virtually anywhere you might find a podcast, whatever podcast player you're listening on now. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. It helps other people find us. It helps us move up in the rankings. If you did not know, we also have a YouTube channel. It's The Cashflow Couple. All of our episodes go there. But as well, we also put other video content that is not part of the podcast. You can find us on Facebook at The Cashflow Couple. We go live there quite a bit. We share tips, tricks, things that are behind the scenes in our business that you may not see on the podcast, but it's definitely more of a real-time, day-to-day type experience. So definitely follow us on Facebook. If you want to ask us questions or if you have concerns or something you want to hear on the podcast, hit us up by email, info@thecashflowcouple.com. We love to hear from our audience. We really care about you guys. We want to see you succeed, and we want to hear what you have to say. So hit us up, info@thecashflowcouple.com. So until next time, happy hosting, happy investing, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Cashflow Couple.